Well, after Sunday's second assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump in just 2 months, he is already back campaigning with a rally tonight in New York. He'll be on Long Island, where the question remains on how the Secret Service plans to protect him. We know he does have beefed up security for tonight's rally. This as the Biden administration insists he's well protected and that it's Trump, that's from the Biden administration, who needs to tone down the rhetoric. Take a listen.
Just to clarify, so you're saying that the president and vice president believe that former President Donald Trump should be toning down his rhetoric?
So I'll say this. President Biden has been clear-eyed about the threat that the former president represents to our democracy. He's been clear-eyed about that.
All right, for more, we want to welcome in Oklahoma Senator James Lankford. Senator, great to see you this morning. So they keep pushing this narrative that Trump is the threat, but this is a very dangerous narrative. This is dangerous rhetoric, what they are doing, what they are saying, as we've seen 2 assassination attempts on the former president. Do you think they change their narrative in the next 48 days?
Of course they do. I mean, this is absurd to continue to say that he's had 2 different assassination attempts come to him and continue to be able to stand up and say he's a threat, rather than he is not a threat. He is a person who speaks his mind plainly, as millions of other Americans do, and say, this is my opinion about something. That's the nature of political discourse in the United States, is to allow people to be able to have First Amendment rights, speak their right, say this is what I believe, and then allow the American people to be able to resolve that. Now, to be clear, there is no place for political violence of either side for any person in America. We don't want to have any threat on President Trump or on Vice President Harris or on President Biden. That's inappropriate in America. We solve things at the ballot box. That's where we solve it. But to continue after 2 assassination attempts in 2 months to be able to call President Trump the one that's the threat is the wrong way to be able to go.
No,
Yeah.
It is preposterous.
Yeah.
Joe Biden said not that long ago, quote, "It is time to put Trump in a bullseye." What do people expect is going to happen when you talk like that? Okay, somebody's going to take a shot at the president. In this case, it's happened once, literally, and were it not for that Secret Service agent spotting the barrel of that gun in a chain link fence, it would have happened again. And who knows what the result would have been. Do you remember that January 6th show trial we had a few years ago, Senator?
I do.
When do we get a thorough investigation by the Senate or the House or both, and call it the Donald Trump Assassination Committee that looks into what happened, and make it public, and fine, hire a producer from one of the networks to do what the Democrats did to Donald Trump? But I'm serious. Why hasn't anybody brought that up yet? When are we going to get a thorough look at what's gone on?
Having hearings at all has been the challenge. I pushed on the chairman of the Homeland Security Committee, who's the Democrat chairman, yesterday even, to say, when is the hearing going to happen in the Senate? The House is having hearings. They're asking the hard questions. They're actually bringing Secret Service and FBI in front of them. The Senate still refuses to do that. We had a classified hearing after the Butler, Pennsylvania time period where we had the opportunity to be able to ask some questions. We need another hearing to be able to push, to be able to say what's the next step here, to be able to make sure that this does not happen again. And we're getting all the details out. That's not an unreasonable request when there's an assassination attempt on the former president of the United States and current leading Republican candidate.
Yeah, as you mentioned, you do serve on the Senate Homeland Security Committee. The Secret Service, obviously a division under the DHS, and Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas says Trump will now receive the same amount of security as President Biden. Take a listen.
So the United States Secret Service has indeed enhanced the former president's security posture so that he is receiving a level of security commensurate with the fact that he's a former president and on the campaign trail. And so his alignment with the security posture of our president is, in fact, quite approximate.
Senator, why did it take 2 assassination attempts to finally get there, where he has the security that is needed?
Yeah, I have no idea, especially when we're this close to the election. That's a question I'd love to be able to ask Ali Mayorkas. I'd also like to trust and verify in this for him to be able to say, yes, we're increasing security. I want to know what that really means to say it's commensurate. Great. What is actually not equal? What is just close on it? We want to know just the basic facts of this. Again, this is about American national security. If we have a presidential candidate, a former president, or a current sitting president with an assassination situation that is worldwide, global chaos that actually occurs with that. This is incredibly important that we allow political discourse to continue orally and that we protect the individuals that are there from some unstable, irrational individual that would actually take a shot at the president.
Yeah, Senator, and it's our job to ask questions, even if those questions might be difficult questions at times. And I'm not trying to be unsavory, but I haven't heard anybody ask, and who better to ask than somebody who knows the Constitution as well as you do. So here we are. 48 days from the election. Donald Trump can't stop campaigning. We're looking at razor-thin margins in battleground states. He did a town hall in Michigan. Last night, he'll be in New York today. Huge crowds. Security is extremely tight. And obviously, it goes without saying. I hope beyond a hope this doesn't happen again. But if something does happen to Donald Trump, and for whatever reason he can't be the candidate on November the 5th, constitutionally, what happens? Does J.D. Vance become the candidate, or what would happen? What is the apparatus for something like that?
Yeah, obviously, God forbid that would ever happen, but the actual party selection process goes through. We just watched Democrats go through where Kamala Harris was selected to be the candidate without having a single vote, but the insiders in the party actually make the selection to be able to go through that. That process would happen on the Republican side to be able to have the nominee be able to move forward at that point. And it would be the nominee selected by the Republican leadership in another setting like that. We don't want anything close like that to be able to happen, but the Constitution does allow, and the structure does allow for a way to be able to protect that. In the meantime, let's be very, very clear. We're going to do everything we possibly can to be able to make sure that Donald Trump is protected through this race, that he's able to speak his mind, the American people are able to speak their mind in November, to be able to make sure that we're making it very clear the direction the country needs to go.
Just a yes or no, Election Day doesn't get pushed back?
That would, no, it in all likelihood would not. Again, that's going to depend on what actually happens right around Election Day and how close an attempt like that would happen at Election Day. But our structure will allow for this. We're an exceptionally resilient country. We've been through challenges before. Many people remember Gerald Ford had 2 attempts on his life within 3 weeks, 2 assassination attempts. But that was so many decades ago. Many people forget that part. So we've faced moments like this before. We are going to face this again, but we're going to face it down, and the American people are going to speak. Donald Trump's going to be elected president, and he'll be able to not just speak his mind, but able to put policies in place to turn the country around.
Yes, and I just want to say again, I'm not asking that with any. Of course, we hope and pray that doesn't happen, but it's just a question that a journalist has to ask when you're looking at 2 attempts in 2 months and 2 months to go until Election Day.
Yeah,
Senator. So thank you.
Senator, before we let you go, I do want to ask you this. I know today you'll be questioning executives from Meta, Google, Microsoft, and Adobe to discuss interference and threats to our election in November. What answers are you hoping to get today?
We're looking for quite a few answers. One is how they're monitoring it, how they're engaging with international foreign threats coming at us. The Iranians have made it very, very clear they plan to be able to put out all kinds of disinformation in the weeks leading up to the election against Donald Trump, and to try to be able to put that into the social media world. We want to know how actually these social media companies are monitoring foreign interference coming into our election. We all know in 2016, the Russians were trying to be able to stir controversy, basically fighting against both sides to be able to stir up Americans in the 2016 election. There was a lot of brouhaha about all that. We want to make sure that the social media companies are actually paying attention to this. Americans should be able to speak their minds, and foreigners should leave us alone and not interfere in our elections.
Senator, great having you on this morning.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it. A lot of time. Thank you.